What if I told you that a prediction made over 120 years ago is unfolding right now, and it could explain everything from wars in Eastern Europe to China's rise and America's global strategy? This is not a conspiracy theory. It's the Heartland Theory, and it's shaping our world in ways most people don't even realize. In this video, we'll uncover what Halford Mackinder revealed in 1904, why it's still guiding global superpowers, and how this knowledge can help you understand the real motives behind today's conflicts, alliances, and economic power plays. If you've ever felt like the news is hiding the real story, this will connect the dots. Have you ever wondered why NATO expanded eastward? Why the US is so focused on Eurasia? Or why Russia and China seem so determined to resist Western influence? This video answers those questions and gives you the geopolitical clarity most people never get. Stay with me. In 1904, a British geographer named Halford Mackinder introduced the world to a theory that few understood at the time. But today, it sounds more like a prophecy. He wasn't a politician or a general, yet his ideas would go on to shape decades of military and diplomatic strategy. Mackinder believed there was one region on Earth so powerful, so central, that controlling it meant controlling the planet. That region became known as the Heartland, the core of Eurasia. At the time, the world was shifting. The British Empire was starting to feel the pressure of a changing balance of power. Mackinder watched the rise of Tsarist Russia and Germany with growing concern. He noticed that naval power, once the gold standard of global dominance, might be outpaced by control of the vast Eurasian landmass. And just like that, his theory was born, a new way to divide the world into key zones of land-based power. It seemed simple on the surface, but beneath it was a brutal logic of control and domination. Mackinder argued that whoever controls Eastern Europe controls the Heartland, and whoever controls the Heartland holds the keys to the world island, a term he used to describe Europe, Asia, and Africa. And from there, world domination. Over 100 years later, the fight for this region is still raging, and you might be watching it unfold on the news without even realizing it. The Heartland Theory starts with a straightforward but deeply strategic premise. The world is divided into zones of influence, and whoever controls the center controls the whole. Mackinder broke the world into three regions: the Heartland, Eurasia's core; the marginal crescent, Western Europe; the Middle East and East Asia; and the outer islands, like the Americas and Oceania. The Heartland, he argued, was the most fortified, the hardest to invade, and thus the most powerful in the long run. The most famous line from his theory sums it all up: who rules Eastern Europe commands the Heartland. Who rules the Heartland commands the world island. Who rules the world island commands the world. That logic explains why so many conflicts and power struggles have centered around the belt, stretching from Central Europe to Siberia. For Mackinder, this was the true key to global dominance. So what exactly is the Heartland? It's a vast stretch of land running from eastern Germany to central Siberia, covering countries like Ukraine, Poland, Kazakhstan, and beyond. Rich in natural resources and strategically located, it was, at the time, practically unreachable by sea. That made it ideal for defense and for projecting power across continents. Mackinder believed that if a superpower could control this region, it could use its resources and geography to project influence globally, not by sea like Britain or the US, but by land through railroads, troops, and strategic alliances. It was the first time someone suggested that land power might surpass sea power. This theory directly influenced 20th century generals, intelligence agencies, and political thinkers, and it's still studied today in military schools and strategic circles. Many believe that the Cold War, the invasion of Afghanistan, NATO's expansion, and even the war in Ukraine all trace back to this logic. And maybe, without realizing it, we're all living in a world shaped by this 1904 vision. In recent years, Mackinder's theory has stepped out of the textbooks and into the headlines. Take the war in Ukraine. It's not just about borders. It's a strategic fight over a key gateway to the Heartland. Russia is pushing to keep its influence, while the West is trying to keep it in check, just like Mackinder predicted. Another clear example is NATO's expansion into Eastern Europe, absorbing nations that used to sit squarely in Russia's sphere of influence. Every new member is another piece on the chessboard, creeping closer to the Eurasian core. This isn't random. It follows the exact containment logic laid out in the Heartland Theory. China, too, seems to be playing by the same playbook. Its Belt and Road Initiative, a multi-trillion-dollar plan, is building overland trade routes connecting China to Europe through the Heartland. That gives Beijing direct access to markets and resources without relying on risky maritime routes. It's about way more than trade. It's raw geopolitics. Even the conflicts in Afghanistan and the Middle East can be viewed through this lens. For decades, the US maintained a network of military bases surrounding the Heartland, even after the Cold War ended. That's not coincidence. It's part of the quiet race for global leverage. While many believe that technology and globalization change the rules of the game, geography, as Mackinder said, still defines destiny. And even in 2025, control of physical territory continues to dictate real power. The Heartland Theory may be over a century old, but it's more relevant than ever. While Mackinder's theory is hailed by some as a geopolitical masterpiece, it's also surrounded by mystery and controversy. Some claim that world leaders and think tanks still rely on it today. They just don't admit it publicly. For many, the Heartland Theory has become a kind of hidden Bible of strategy, quietly guiding decisions behind the scenes. Critics, however, call the theory Eurocentric, overly focused on territorial control and blind to the power of new technologies. Mackinder wrote his theory in 1904, long before the internet, drones, or cyber warfare. In today's world, where you can destabilize a nation with a virus or a hack, land alone might not be enough. Still, the influence lingers. Leaked intelligence reports, strategic maps used by military planners, and even cryptic statements from world leaders all seem to echo Mackinder's logic. Some say modern wars are still justified internally using this framework, even when the public doesn't know it exists. Others argue that the theory encourages a deterministic worldview, one where geography traps people into cycles of war, fear, and arms races. Instead of promoting peace, they say, the Heartland Theory feeds a mindset of preemptive strikes and power for power's sake. But here's the catch: it keeps getting things right. And that's why it's still taught in war rooms and international relations programs. It may not be flawless, but maybe it reveals something the public isn't supposed to see, that global power is a high-stakes chess game, and those who don't know the rules are just pawns. It might all sound distant, but the truth is the Heartland Theory touches your life, whether you realize it or not. When nations clash over the Heartland, global markets wobble, fuel and food prices spike, and you feel that at the gas station, in the grocery store, or on your electricity bill. Conflicts in that region also trigger migration waves that shake up politics around the world, especially in Europe. Governments tighten immigration laws, ramp up defense spending, and redirect funds that could have gone to healthcare, education, or public infrastructure, all because of strategic moves traced back to a century-old map. If you work in international trade, travel, investment, or even digital content, you've already felt the impact. Through sanctions, border closures, or currency crashes, it's not just geopolitics, it's your personal stability and freedom. Even pop culture doesn't escape. The fear of conflict and war shapes movies, TV shows, and the social climate in your own neighborhood. Many of the extreme opinions you see online are fueled by real-world tensions rooted in the Heartland. You may not realize it, but you're surrounded by its invisible influence. Understanding this theory is like lifting a veil. You start to see the bigger picture. You grasp what nations are doing, why they're doing it, and what might happen. Next, it helps you make smarter choices, whether you're managing your finances, planning your career, or just trying to make sense of the world. Because now more than ever, understanding geopolitics means staying one step ahead. What Halford Mackinder wrote in 1904 wasn't just theory. It was a cold, calculated vision of how global power would be fought over. 100 years later, the world is still playing by his rules. Wars, alliances, and international chess moves all follow a logic that most people ignore, but that quietly shapes the course of history. The Heartland may not be trending by name, but it's at the core of everything happening behind the scenes. Throughout this video, you've seen how this old theory never really died. It lives on in war rooms, secret briefings, and silent decisions that define our lives today. Understanding that gives you a rare edge, not just watching the game unfold, but actually seeing the rules underneath it all. And that's a powerful place to be. If you've made it this far, it means you feel the world is changing fast and you want to understand why. The answer isn't just in the headlines. It's in the deeper ideas that explain cycles of power and resistance. Mackinder gave you the map. Now it's up to you to decide whether to use it or stay in the dark. Drop a comment below. Do you think this theory still controls global affairs? Had you ever heard of it before? I'd love to hear your take, and if this video helped you make sense of what's going on in the world, hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. In the next video, I'll reveal how a little-known alliance could completely shift the global balance of power, and you won't want to miss it. Hit the bell, because if this blew your mind, what's coming next will shake your whole perspective. See you there.